Have you ever felt so weak that you couldn't take another step? So broken that you wondered if God could even use someone like you? Friends, what I'm about to share with you today might completely change how you see your weaknesses forever. What if the very thing you're ashamed of is exactly where God wants to show His greatest power? Stay with me, because this truth has transformed countless lives, and it's about to transform yours too. You know, we live in a world that celebrates strength. Social media shows us highlight reels of success. Our culture worships self-sufficiency. We're taught from childhood to be strong, to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, to never show weakness. And somewhere along the way, many of us Christians have bought into this lie too. We think we need to have it all together before God can use us. We believe our weaknesses disqualify us from His purposes. But brothers and sisters, nothing could be further from the truth. Let me take you to 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. The Apostle Paul writes these revolutionary words, "But he said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Did you catch that? Paul didn't just accept his weaknesses. He actually delighted in them. He boasted about them. Why? Because he discovered something that changed everything. God's power is made perfect in weakness. Not in spite of weakness, but through weakness. Your weakness isn't the end of your usefulness to God. It's the beginning of His supernatural work in your life. Think about it this way. When you're strong and capable and self-sufficient, who gets the glory when things go well? You do. People look at you and say, "Wow, look what they accomplished." But when you're weak, when you're broken, when you're at the absolute end of yourself, and God does something amazing through you, there's no question about who deserves the credit. Everyone can see it was God. Let me tell you about a man named Gideon. You'll find his story in Judges chapter 6. When God called Gideon to deliver Israel from the Midianites, Gideon was hiding in a winepress, threshing wheat in secret because he was terrified. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Mighty warrior? Gideon was anything but mighty. He was from the weakest clan in Manasseh, and he was the least in his own family. He was weak, afraid, and completely unqualified by human standards. But here's what's beautiful. God didn't wait for Gideon to become strong. He didn't send him to warrior training camp. Instead, God actually reduced Gideon's army from 32,000 men down to just 300. Why? So that when victory came, Israel would know beyond any doubt that the Lord had saved them. Gideon's weakness and his tiny army became the perfect canvas for God's strength to be displayed. Maybe you're facing something right now that feels impossible. Maybe it's a health struggle that won't go away. Perhaps it's a financial crisis that keeps you up at night. It could be a broken relationship that you don't know how to fix. Or maybe it's an addiction you've tried to overcome 1,000 times and failed. You feel weak. You feel inadequate. You feel like you're not enough. And you're right. You're not enough. But God is. In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 27 through 29, Paul writes, "But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of this world and the despised things, and the things that are not, to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before Him." God has a pattern, friends. He loves using weak people. He specializes in taking what the world considers worthless and doing something extraordinary with it. Think about Moses with his speech impediment. David, the youngest and smallest of his brothers. Rahab, a prostitute who became part of Jesus' lineage. Peter, who denied Jesus 3 times. Mary Magdalene, from whom Jesus cast out 7 demons. Paul himself, who persecuted Christians before his conversion. The Bible is filled with weak, broken, flawed people whom God used in powerful ways. Not after they got their act together, but right in the middle of their weakness. So what does this mean for you practically? First, stop hiding your weaknesses from God. He already knows about them anyway. Psalm 139 tells us He knows everything about us. He formed us in our mother's womb. He knows when we sit and when we rise. There's nothing you can hide from Him, and here's the beautiful part, He loves you anyway. He's not shocked by your weakness. He's not disappointed. He's actually waiting for you to stop pretending you're strong so He can show you His strength. Second, bring your weakness to Him in prayer. Be honest. Tell Him you can't do it. Tell Him you're scared. Tell Him you feel inadequate. This isn't complaining. This is humility. This is the posture that invites God's power. Remember what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 5, verse 3, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." The poor in spirit are those who recognize their spiritual bankruptcy, their need for God. That's where blessing begins. Third, watch for how God wants to work through your weakness. Sometimes He heals it. Sometimes He removes the obstacle. But often, He leaves the weakness right where it is and gives you His grace to endure it while He works through it. Paul prayed 3 times for his thorn in the flesh to be removed. God said no. But He gave Paul something better, His sufficient grace and His perfected power. Fourth, let go of comparison. Stop looking at other people who seem to have it all together and feeling less than. You don't know their struggles. You don't see their private battles. And besides, God isn't asking you to be them. He's asking you to be you, weaknesses and all, surrendered to Him. Your story is unique. Your weaknesses are uniquely positioned for God to display His glory in a way that only He can do through you. Fifth, start thanking God for your weaknesses. I know this sounds crazy. But when you can genuinely thank God for the very thing that humbles you, something shifts in your spirit. You move from victim to victor. You stop fighting against God's purposes and start cooperating with them. You begin to see your weakness not as a curse but as a gift, an opportunity for God to show up in power. Let me share something personal with you. There have been seasons in my own life where I felt completely inadequate for what God was calling me to do. Times when my own limitations screamed louder than God's promises. And in those moments, I had a choice. I could either disqualify myself because of my weakness, or I could step forward in faith, trusting that God's strength would meet me in my weakness. Every single time I chose faith, God showed up. Not because I was strong, but because He is. Here's what I want you to understand today. Your weakness is not a mistake. It's not a flaw in God's design. It's actually part of His perfect plan for your life. He allowed it, or perhaps even created it, so that His strength could shine through you in a way that brings Him glory and brings others hope. When people see God's power working through your obvious weakness, it gives them hope for their own situations. It shows them that God can use anyone, including them. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 29 through 31 says, "He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles, they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint." Notice it doesn't say those who are already strong will soar. It says those who hope in the Lord, those who wait on Him, those who acknowledge their need for Him, will have their strength renewed. So today, right now, I want you to do something. Take that weakness you've been hiding, that struggle you've been ashamed of, that limitation you've been fighting against, and surrender it to God. Tell Him you can't do it on your own. Ask Him to be your strength. Invite His power to work through your weakness. And then watch. Watch what happens when you stop trying to be strong enough and start trusting that He is strong enough. Your weakness is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of His. It's where His strength starts to shine. It's where miracles happen. It's where ordinary people become vessels of extraordinary power. So stop despising your weakness. Stop hiding it. Stop fighting it. Instead, offer it to God and watch Him turn it into something beautiful. Because friends, when you are weak, that's when He is strong. That's when His glory shines brightest. That's when the world sees that our God is real and powerful and able to do immeasurably more than we could ask or imagine. May the Lord meet you in your weakness today. May His grace be sufficient for you. May His power rest upon you. And may you discover the beautiful truth that your weakness is exactly where His strength begins. Please like and subscribe. See you in the next video.